Alright, you guys, so page 4 review video. Number 20 is kind of a little complicated, but I know you can do it. The first thing I noticed is I've got a number greater than 1 in front of that x squared. So if a is greater than 1, then you have to use the table in order to factor. So in my table, I'm going to put the a term here for x squared, and I'll always put the c term down here. Then to break up that b into these two boxes, you have to factor. So you think, what is going to multiply to give me a times c, which is a negative 32, and what's going to add to give me b, negative 31. So you think of all the factors of negative 32. It's going to be 1 and 32, 2 and 16, not 3, 4 and 8. I think that's it. Notice that second sign is negative, so you know your signs are going to be different, and then the larger is negative. So I can go through and make all these larger numbers negative. From here, I look at what combination adds to give me 31, a negative 31. That'd be this one right here, negative 32 and positive 1. So those guys get to go into my boxes with an X by them. Then, just like we've been doing, you look at each column and see the greatest common factor, and you pull it out. And then you look at each row and you see the greatest common factor, and you pull it out. So in this case, they both have a negative, and they can both be equally divided by 8. So you want to take a negative 8 out there. Then you look at this column. They don't have any numbers really in common except 1, and then an X. They both have an X. You look at this row right here. They both have a 4 and an X that they can both be divided by from. Then you look at this row, and they just have a 1. So these are your parentheses, x minus 8 and 4x plus 1. X minus 8 and 4x plus 1. And then you're done. Number 21 is similar. Just want to factor, but because a is 1, I don't have to use a table. I can just go ahead and factor with the x, just like we've been doing. A times c goes at the top, b goes at the bottom. 1 times 63 is 63, negative. And then b comes down here. Notice your signs are different. The larger is negative. So when I'm thinking of all of my factors of 63, all of these guys are going to be negative. All of your larger numbers are going to be negative. So you want to think about the factors of 63. Don't forget that you can put this into your calculator in the y equals button. 63 divided by x. And then hit second graph, and you'll pull up all of the whole number factors. So you've got 1 and 63, 3 and 21, and 7 and 9. And you're looking for which ones are going to add to give you 16. You know what? I don't see one that adds to give me 16. That's crud. What that means is this is a typo. This is probably the closest one, and so this is going to be minus 18. Sorry about that, guys. Typo. So you've got 3 and negative 21. I promise there won't be any typos on the test, so don't assume if it's not there that you didn't get it. And then you break that up into your parentheses, x plus 3 and x minus 21. That's your answer. Factor by grouping is what we did on Thursday. I really like factor by grouping. The first thing you want to do is put into parentheses the terms that have something in common. So these two terms have a s squared in common, and these two terms have a 3 in common. And I'm putting those in parentheses. A lot of times it'll be the first two and the second two, so go there first. Then you want to pull out the greatest common factor from each parenthesis. So you look and see, what do these guys share? What do they have the same? They both have an s squared. Then to see what's left in my parentheses, you divide. S cubed divided by s squared. Remember, when you're dividing, you subtract the exponents, so you get s to the 1, or just s. 5s squared divided by s squared. That cancels, and you're just left with plus 5. You want to pull out the greatest common factor in this parenthesis as well, which is going to be a 3. When you divide each piece here by 3, 3 divided by 3 is just 1, and then you have an s. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then you notice you've got s plus 5 and s plus 5 already in parentheses. So if you're going to factor this, half of the work is already done for you because the s plus 5 is already there. So you write that down. And then to decide what goes in the other parenthesis, you just cross this guy out and this guy out, and you see what's left. Hopefully you see that there's an s squared plus 3. S squared plus 3. And that is the complete factorization using grouping. So s squared plus 3 and s plus 5. Same thing for number 23. Factor by grouping, so you want to group them first. I notice that these guys have a q squared in common, so I'm going to take that out. And then I'm going to divide to see what's left in. Divide by q squared. Q cubed divided by q squared gives you just regular q. 8q squared divided by q squared is going to give you just regular 8. Then you look at 5q plus 40. You see what they have in common. They both have a 5 that you can divide by. So you pull him out. Divide by 5, divide by 5. These guys cancel. You're just left with q on the inside. And then 40 divided by 5 is 8. Notice, when I've pulled out my greatest common factors, I'm left with the exact same thing in those parentheses. That should be your goal. Because when you factor, you already have one of your parentheses done for you. The other parentheses is just whatever's left over when you take those guys out. Q squared plus 5. Q squared plus 5 and q plus 8. That's your complete factorization by grouping. I really like number 24 because number 24 is halfway done for me. It already has these parentheses done, so I know when I'm done factoring, I'll have 2 sets of parentheses. X minus 3 is already done for me, and I can take that guy out. And then you see what's left, and it's 5x minus 7. So I'm finished. 5x minus 7, x minus 3. Number 25, I'm going to have to work a little bit harder at. I'm going to group the terms that have something in common. In that first parenthesis, I see that they both have a z squared in common, and then I divide to see what's left. Z cubed divided by z squared is just z. Negative 4z squared divided by z squared is just negative 4. On the other parenthesis, I've got 4z minus 16, so I can pull out a 4 from both of those. Then I divide to see what's left in. 4 divided by 4 is just 1, z. Negative 16 divided by 4 is a negative 4. I've got the same parenthesis right there, so I know I can factor. So my final answer should have two parentheses. One of them is going to be z minus 4. And then what's left is z squared plus 4. So that goes in here. Z squared plus 4 and z minus 4. That is it for page 4 of your review. There will be one more video for page 5.